Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. Welcome to a very special edition of the EntreMusician podcast. Usually, as you know, within this moment, I would be introducing a special guest to interview, as this became our focus back in early 22 because there are so many wonderful stories to share of EntreMusicians in every walk of life and in every genre and in every category of the music industry, which of course includes those who may not be musicians or artists themselves, but are committed to providing services that help enhance the lives of EntreMusicians. So our attention settled upon highlighting them on this podcast, and I absolutely love how these conversations have strengthened the tapestry of our podcast. If you've noticed, we've been blessed to talk with iconic artists as diverse as Roy Future Man Wooten, to Jason Miles, to Chris Jasper of the Isley Brothers, to Grammy winners like Gary Hines of The Sounds of Blackness, to Emmy Award winner Michelle Weiss Masson, who has over 5,000 placements in film and TV, and other cherished notables, all the way to artists like the rapper Hegemon, who was just coming off of his first tour, sleeping in his pickup truck with his portable PA system and showering at every Planet Fitness across the country just to get his music out there. And just recently, we had our first conversation with Irma de Jong and Gianriccardo Pera of iClassical Academy in Milan, Italy, about the amazing strides they are taking in classical music education. This is all excellent, radical stuff. These are stories which touch you from every single perspective. I'm also very blessed to share this microphone with our amazing guest hosts like Linda Bolero, Vance Anderson, Daryl Looney, and Robbie Cunningham, whose vast experience brings a wonderful flavor to the gumbo that is the EntreMusician. And I'm delighted that they will each continue in their roles, bringing more excellent content to the flow. In addition, you can expect us to be welcoming some brand new guest hosts in the month to come. And they are such a great part of the EntreMusician family. I'm extremely excited. But you're going to ask, what's your purpose in telling me all of this? Where's the guest? Well, there is no guest today to talk about. But my purpose here in explaining all of this is not just to talk about the podcast and glory and past experiences, but in the world of marketing and advertising, I'm sure you've heard the old adage that goes, well, you tell them, and then you tell them again. Then you tell them again, and guess what? You tell them again, right? Which is why commercials from major corporations run all day and every night, right? So they can tell you again and again about their products and services, even if they have to do it in 6 or 7 second slices like they do on YouTube. They tell you and they tell you. But this is why I can tell you that I detest this type of saturation. And I understand it. I understand its importance. I really do. I mean, truly, it's got to be like, when you play it the first time or the 5th time, their commercial, you are not going to catch everybody. And those you catch may not be paying attention. And for those who are paying attention, may somewhere down the road forget about the doggone commercial. So you just run it 1,000 times. Run it. Get it into their head until they're singing your jingle. But it doesn't stop me from detesting the practice and skipping ahead or changing the channel or turning the doggone thing off. So in this very special episode, I want to make it very, very, very clear that this is not a commercial or an infomercial. It's not a marketing strategy or advertisement for the EntreMusician. What it is, however, is an opportunity for me to speak to you from my heart and return for a moment back to ground zero of what the EntreMusician is all about, our why, who it's for, and what we are currently building and focusing on in the future. So that if something I say should click with your spirit, you can join us in the journey if you so choose. So I guess the best place to begin is with this question. What the heck is an entre-musician? Now, although the answer to this question can be found in earlier episodes of my definition, I recently sent out a request to our community as to how they would define an entre-musician based on their experiences, and here are the answers I received.
It opens new doors to all kinds of skills I need to find my place in the music industry today. It gets me in touch with insiders' information about how music industry functions and what can I do to use it. And most of all, it gives me the most valuable thing in today's music industry, the knowledge I struggle to find. I love being an EntreMusician.
The EntreMusician is dedicated to their craft, willing to do the work, and most importantly, they are resilient. They don't wait for breaks to come to them. They make their own.
Thank you very much, EntreMusicians, for their great service with the musicians all over the world. Thank you, Jerry B, for your great service. I'm Amaranath Ranatunga, guitarist, composer, and lecturer from Sri Lanka.
I think that an entre-musician is someone that embraces all of the colors, aspects, and possibilities of music, because there is so much color in one note alone.
Hi, I'm Robin Williams Sr., songwriter and producer, and I am part of the EntreMusician Mastermind. It is a place where you will get great information about how music industry functions and what it can do for you. So, if I was you, get on board with the EntreMusician. It will teach you so much. I have learned so much. I have bettered myself.
I remember about a decade ago reading Dave Ramsey's great book, EntreLeadership, and thinking that if I applied all of these principles and values to my life and career as a musician, I could be an entre-musician. I had no thought of trying to build a company or a community at that time. It was just me trying to live out these principles and form these habits and trying to apply Dave's characteristics and improve my success rate. About a year later, I began this podcast, 2018 or so, with the notion that I would record my journey, and I thought the best place to start would be with my mistakes. See, I'd been the leader of the Ohio-based original alternative funk jazz fusion band Sound Doctrine. You say that 3 times fast. But by God's grace, we had released 5 wonderful projects. We had done some touring. We had some good radio exposure. We had our music on the Weather Channel. And we're on the brink of moving upward and onward. We had experienced some tremendous highs, but as John Maxwell always says, everything rises and falls on leadership. And as the leader, I had made some tremendous mistakes due to my low lid. Now, if you want to know what I'm describing, then you need to read Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, which I hadn't read then, so I had made some costly mistakes, musically, administratively, and spiritually. I was a natural leader, but I was an ineffective one. And as a result, the band began to suffer because of my poor choices. My mom passed away unexpectedly in 2008, which further affected the band because as I was in deep introspection, I decided to come off the road, which without going into too much details, it was a blessing for me personally, but not so much for the entity that Sound Doctrine was becoming. So with respect to the podcast, again, this is 2018, I felt it necessary to use the mistakes that I had made in detail as a catalyst for content, which helped build my confidence. And once I began interviewing other musicians about the concept of learning from our mistakes while changing our thought process into becoming entrepreneurial musicians, I began to think more deeply and clearly into the formulation of MDF. These 3 words, mindset, discipline, and focus, and they became the foundation of the EntreMusician. It would take another 2 years to really unpack their importance because, unbeknownst to me and the rest of the planet, we were all headed for that major shutdown of 2020. And this is where the heart of the EntreMusician really began to beat. I felt that in the strangeness of this time, whether you were Stevie Wonder or Bob Dylan or Janet Jackson or Bob James, you could not work, right? Your career and how you interacted with your fans was being tweaked by an outside source. And the little girls and guys like myself were at the very same red light that these ultra icons were. And we'd better come together to figure out what we were going to do during this immense standstill so that when the light finally turned green again, we would be further ahead than we were before. Obviously, because of their systems and networks and their past accomplishments, it would be far easier for the Taylor Swifts and Kanyes to get back to their businesses quicker and easier. But for the rest of us, we had better learn from this extended teaching moment to either expand or create something new. And you saw it. The innovation did come. Many bands began perfecting their performance skills with the help of Zoom and other platforms, which allowed them to get closer to their fans, sell more merch, and create other means of commerce, which they still employ to this day. This approach also helped increase the visibility of NFTs, crypto, and Web3. For the EntreMusician, it meant creating a culture and community of like-minded deep thinkers who actually make up the core and brain trust of the EntreMusician. I mentioned them earlier, but they definitely need to be appreciated again. Vance Anderson, my brother and friend, he spent 20 years as the road manager of the Tony Bennett. Vance also toured with and ran front of house for Pat Metheny, John McLaughlin, Paco de Lucia, and currently manages the Well Pennies and assists in their label Golden Beer Records. Vance is the quintessential professional who literally sweats experience and is a man of deep conviction, strong faith, and immense strength. Linda Bolero is Associate Professor of Voice at Berklee College of Music, a Grammy nominee as Music Educator of the Year, and author of the best-selling book Being a Singer, The Art, Craft, and Science, which features a foreword by Jack Canfield. Daryl D. Funk Looney is a jazz violinist and medical doctor and leader of the Fat Funk Clique. He's also a metadata specialist and a strong voice in the EntreMusician community. Later, we welcomed esteemed R&B singer Robbie Cunningham and also Russ Palladino, a saxophonist extraordinaire, Canadian songwriter Anna Nicholson, California composer Barbara Ward, film and TV composer from New York Jessica Jinks. So it's a well-rounded brain trust at the EntreMusician. As you can imagine, other than Daryl, I've never physically been in the same room with any of these fantastic people. But we are family, and this organic bond has been strengthening, like I said, since 2020. The community continues to grow with some very sensational artists and EntreMusicians who are thriving and are valuable contributors in every respect. We call this an encouragement community. Along with sharing amazing information and resources, we stand with and for each other in our various fields. By the way, again, except for Daryl, we all met on LinkedIn, which is also where 95% of my interviews are forged. So the LinkedIn platform has proven to be a true space for serious EntreMusicians. So let me tell you a little bit more about the community so you can process it. Firstly, there is the website at theentremusician.com. You can visit it, obtain information, avail yourself to the resources, and just so I could fess up real quick, I'm about 2 weeks behind in updating the site. Just so you know, I haven't yet begun to outsource the constant updates that do need to happen on the site, so there may be a couple of articles or information you may have read or are aware of, and they're in there And then there are times when I am there and I'm thinking, well, maybe this is still relevant, so I don't pull it down. I'm not the best judge of what needs to come off. And in some cases, you could call me a hoarder of sorts. Now, there is some information stored on the site whereby you will have to provide your email address to access that information. Most of these resources contain heavy-duty information and some contacts, but it is free for your email address. In any event, I know that updating needs to be done and I'll be on it, all right? But this is the first point of entry, so sign up, add your name to the email list. And also, if you are a solo artist or in a band, we will list your name on our EntreMunity page so you can check out the other incredible musicians who are listed there as well. Several of these artists have reached out to the others for collaborations on a project or tour or just to share information. For example, Band A is in New York and Singer A is in New York, and they reach out to do something together. Or Band B is in Ohio, Band C is in Canada, Band B wants to tour Canada, and Band C helps to coordinate the logistics and assist with the gigs and eventually becomes the opening act in the process. And this switched up vice versa when Band C comes to Ohio. I know you dig that, right? The second point of entry is the heart of our community, and this is our mastermind group, which is behind a paywall of just $27 a month. We meet up on Facebook in a private group. Each person shares information, resources, and their very lives on the wall. And on Sundays, we hook up at 6 o'clock via Zoom to go deeper into sharing these ideas. And we also invite some guests who teach us their secrets, provide insight into particular categories like sync, or publishing, or Web3, and we share our own experiences together. One of the highlights, however, of the Sunday nights is the sharing of music during the latter portion of the call. And this can range from incipient ideas to full-blown productions and orchestrations. And we can run sometimes well into the evening based upon how many people are on the call that particular Sunday. Presently, we are working on creating a playlist to be shared outside the community so those who are curious about the EntreMusician can experience the level of depth, diversity, and distinction that exists from the various artists who are part of the mastermind group. The next level is the membership, for which there is a 3-month course that we call an intensive, and also various workshops which are offered from time to time as needed. Now, this 3-month intensive covers the entire scope of mindset, discipline, and focus, and it expands into copyright, publishing, licensing, marketing, and walks the member through the journey of EntreMusicianship at every level. Once the course is completed, the member can then begin hosting on the EntreMusician podcast, participating in the workshops, and moderating the mastermind. It's evergreen, so you are a permanent part of the community as long as you choose. Now, as of 2022, the target of the EntreMusician has been those of us who are 50 years old and older. This, of course, is not to say that if you are under the age of 50, you cannot be a part of the group, as we do have several members who are and who hang out in the mastermind regularly. The focal point began to change actually as I began to age and my conversations with other musicians in this age range evolved. On one hand, it seemed as if I was eager to keep up with the technology and the trends, and some of my contemporaries were bypassing opportunities because either they didn't understand the new music business and how it operates, or they were confused about the adoption of social media in their regular construct. Some were and still are put off by the adoption of cryptocurrency, NFTs, avatars, and the plunge into Web3. For others, the obstacles were more emotional and spiritual, with limiting beliefs and self-esteem issues tricking them into thinking that they cannot begin or relaunch a music career in an industry that's so addicted to youth. Not to mention the physical concerns that come with age, like hearing loss, arthritis, and other health issues that can occupy a person's attention in this season of our lives. So I began to concentrate on building a platform which would be welcoming, informative, and obviously encouraging, so the individual would be able to thrive. Once again, I dug into mindset, discipline, and focus as foundation stones, utilizing my personal faith as a guide. From that thought process and through much prayer, I began to tear into mindset, discipline, and focus. And once I broke them all down, I discovered that there are 9 keys which help unlock the force of MDF on the entrepreneurial path. So I wrote a book entitled The Path of the EntreMusician, 9 Keys to Unlock Your Mindset, Discipline, and Focus. Pretty original title, huh? In my best-selling book, I explained that mindset is a position for every one of us. Our mindset is a practical position that we take. Sometimes offense, sometimes defense, sometimes advancing, sometimes holding steady. And I adopted my life scripture, which is 1 Corinthians 15:58, as the ark. It says, "Finally, be strong, steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the Lord." Now, obviously, I go more into details in the book and within the intensive, but I do believe that our work as EntreMusicians is indeed God's work. It's very much spiritual, and music has divine power for major transformation. One small example among thousands, but something that everyone can reach back to very easily, is that during the 1960s, when certain artists, many from Motown, other artists like Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan, and even international bands, through their music, shattered racial barriers that existed at that time. And this is just one tiny example, but monumental in scope. So again, mindset is a practical, powerful position that you take as an EntreMusician to transform your life, family, community, and world. Discipline, we say, is a progress. It's rituals and it's daily habits that you use to sharpen and build and eventually accelerate your life and your career. There must be discipline and priorities. There must be planning and implementation. Focus is a precision. Now, it's not perfection, but it is a precision, and it's about seeing beyond the obvious, seeing what others may not see, looking for answers that may not be so apparent, having tunnel vision if you need to, and utilizing your peripheral vision in ways you never thought possible. This is real juice right here. I don't care how naturally gifted you are. If you're not sharpening your mindset, discipline, and focus, there will be a breakdown. I can promise you that. The 9 keys, by the way, are start, believe, don't stop, trust, look, learn, give, forgive, and gratitude. These are the 9 keys that break it down. I invite you to purchase the book or the audiobook or video series. These 9 keys truly provide the foundational principles for which the EntreMusician thrives. This is why you may hear us call our workshops Thrive Journeys. In addition to the book, we partnered with Armstrong Media back in May of 22 to put together a TV show entitled Artist Impact, which opened up some pretty incredible opportunities for us to feature artists of every age and of every genre to showcase their music in front of industry pros who would review or critique their music. It's almost like an American Idol without the competition or cash prizes. But through Artist Impact, we've been able to meet and network with musicians from all over the world, including West Africa, Serbia, Germany, and all over the United States. What a wonderful platform that continues to grow like a snowball rolling down a hill. Just from one idea to be vulnerable enough to talk about my mistakes on a podcast. So this is what the EntreMusician is. A person with an idea who by God's grace employs mindset, discipline, and focus to accomplish what he or she could otherwise never imagine. Without startup capital or a real business plan, just sheer faith and an adventurous spirit to follow what was coming down the pike. Anybody can do this, whatever this means for you, which is why I begin and end every podcast by saying, I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. So you can see yourself through the lens of accomplishment, whatever accomplishment that you're going after. Hopefully, you are absolutely inspired to do you, to make it happen, and don't stop until it does. No matter what your age or background is, you absolutely can win. On December 31st, again by God's grace, I left my full-time position in ministry to pursue this call. I'm grateful for my beautiful wife of 28 years, Lori, who is an absolute woman and who has encouraged me to do this with all of my heart. No doubt we must win because there is no plan B. We're out of the boat, walking on the water, keeping our eyes on Jesus, and noting every step. I invite you to get involved with the EntreMusician. Like, subscribe, share this video, join the website, join the mastermind, become a member, see which tier works best for you, and let's grow together. Let's do it. It can happen. I'm living the dream right now. My name is Jerry B, and you know what I'm about to say. I am the EntreMusician. So are you. We'll see you again next time.